In this video, we're doing dual jump seats on my Gen 1 Raptor, supercar style. Supercar! Wait, did it line up?
It did line up!
No way! How's it feel?
Uncomfortable.
You're shaking the whole truck. Supercharged. Got a giant subwoofer sitting in the middle. It's supercar style, right? Show it down, show it down. Hey guys, hello, we keep it dirty off-road. In this video, we're getting dual jump seats on our Gen 1 Raptor. Now, I'm fairly certain this applies to anybody that has an F-150 from 2009 to 2014. And there's so many similarities that I'm sure that you could probably use this as a guide to do this on your newer F-150s and Raptors too. Now, this setup is definitely not for everybody, but I hope it at least inspires you guys to take on your own project and do your own custom interior. How did we get here? Well, it started off with the custom center console that snowballed into going on Facebook Marketplace and finding a killer deal on my dream sub. That huge subwoofer was too good of a deal to pass up, and we needed to figure out a way to integrate it without losing any storage space back here and taking full advantage of this crazy subwoofer. One option is to make it downfiring like that, make it as part of a custom center console. Another option is to go vertical like that, have the port at the top and the back like that. I think that looks cool. Let's see what it looks like from the front. That's like supercar style right there. Or do we go flat like this? The most obvious solution is to do it without the least modification, but that's not me. So I want to put it supercar style vertical in the middle. And in order to do that, we need to modify the seats. I could just go in and start modifying my seat, but there's a lot of risk involved in modifying these seats. There's a lot we don't know. And these are the really nice red upgraded seats. So is a base model seat that we're going to use to strip down and chop up. And if it works, we'll transfer all of our stuff to this one. Now, this seat was given to us by a follower. It came out of an old Border Patrol truck. They were in the process of getting rid of it. It's actually going to go to the scrap yard because the foam and all that stuff's no good on it. It's perfect for us. Try this experiment out, have a shop cut it up and see if it works. And if it does work, then we can spend the money to make it look like our stock seat. Now, this seat's not in the best of shape. It's been outside. You can tell by all the rust and all that stuff. It's been wet. So the foam and all that stuff's not good. So first things first, we gotta take all the foam, take it all apart, and get it down to the frame so that we can start figuring out what's gonna be needed to make the bench into a single bench rather than a dual bench. Whew, wish us luck. The seat itself is pretty gross with the amount of rust and everything on it. So let's take it apart. The fabric and foam on the donor seats were pretty gross, so we went ahead and cut them off. We did not try to preserve it. Now, this was very much an experiment as well, because as far as I know, nobody else has actually done this type of setup or integration before. If you're gonna try to do this and you're gonna try to save a little money and try to do with the bench that's already in the truck, be very careful with it, because you're gonna need to preserve the leathers, you're gonna need to preserve the foam, all those pieces that are currently on the seat. The hardware will need to be reused on the new solution. If you don't want to risk it, I highly recommend getting with an upholsterer local to your area that can help take that seat apart without damaging it and preserving all the components. There she is apart. I actually think it's not going to be too bad. I mean, everything looks like it's going to go into place. It's just a matter of where you cut and when you bring it together. The only weird spot is that little curve in the back. Everything else looks totally doable. I am gonna get rid of as much of that rust as I can and maybe give it a nice little light coat of paint once it's all done. But I think it's doable, guys. The stuff that was in there was disgusting. So that's an old Border Patrol truck, so there was a lot of dust and grime, and I think these seats spent some time outside because look at the frame. Look how rusted the frame is. It had quite a bit of moisture in it. So we let it dry out because I didn't want to touch it while it was wet. So luckily it was dry by the time I got to it, but man, was it gross. So now I need to find somebody to help me cut it up. After talking to Richard at Grove Fabworks, we decided to go ahead and take apart the single jump seat from the donor seat set. And we realized that a lot of the parts that are used to fabricate the seats are interchangeable. And I guess they did this to make manufacturing super easy. And we may be able to leverage that single jump seat and avoid having to cut up the bench seat by just swapping the hardware. Okay, so we took apart the donor seat and tried a little experiment. Now, stripping down the single jump seat was gross. That thing was sticky. I think somebody dropped a Coke or a Sprite or something in there. There was way more rust on it. It was disgusting. Now we needed to try to swap out the hardware to see if it was going to work. So one thing we are realizing, the seat itself is not direction, the frame itself. This part is, that little bracket is. But that's it. Everything else is just bolted on. And it's identical on both sides. So we may be able to use the brackets, put that bracket on this side. I think we might be able to use the frame without having to cut it up too bad. Now, like everything on a Ford, it's always a T50. So we're gonna try to take this off. And I am hoping this comes off as a single mechanism. Because if it does, we should be able to just transfer it over to that side. Ooh, so far so good. Ah, it's one piece. That is awesome. That's gonna save us so much fab work. You were saying? It's easy? You're saying?
Yeah.
Why isn't it done yet, Ethan?
Why is it not done yet? No, because there's stupid little rubber pieces in the way. I tried to show you, it's not my fault, right?
Yeah, it's totally your fault.
It's not my fault.
Here.
Oh, it's almost out. Good. What are you gonna do? Why'd you go over there? Why did you give me that one, then go over here?
Because it's what I do. And then you should be able to get that piece out now.
Yeah, maybe. I did it!
Yay! Look at that. That came out in one piece. So it means that we should be able to put that piece on that side and the holes match up. Let's put that off to the side so that we know where it goes. And then... we're gonna start taking these little pieces off. So first thing is that piece. We gotta take that off. Okay, and then once that's out, you pull it down.
Yeah, I pulled down.
Come out. Oh, you have to pull out. See how there's a tab right there?
Oh,
there you go. So one thing we just noticed is the shock is on the inside on the jump seat, which is going to be to our benefit because on the bench it's on the outside. So we don't have to relocate the shock. It's already there. That's a savings. All right, let's get this off. Woohoo! Now I do see one problem. Is this has a nut. Is that a welded nut? So we're gonna have to find out what size this is. Luckily, we just got one of these just for this purpose so that we can find out what size things are. So I'm guessing 10 mil, 1.25 maybe.
checking out the thread size.
Yeah, I might have to find a better spot for this so that the bolts can go through.
Something I learned at work. Yeah, it's this.
Yeah.
Because there's no wiggle room in here, so, and it just slides right through, so it's not.
So 10 mil, 1.5. So we're just gonna have to get 1.5 nut and that'll work. That'll make things easy. Yay! That's less fab work.
Yeah, it just has the same thing on this side too.
All right, let's take that side off because we don't need that side at all. You have the wrench, and then we'll have to get the bracket from the other one too, so we can put it on. Perfect. Hell yeah, that's gonna save us so much fab work. Woo, that's gonna save me money.
To get the rust off, we did a combination of sandblasting and wire wheels. I originally wanted to sandblast the whole thing, but my sandblaster is pretty cheap. It's a Harbor Freight one, and my compressor was generating too much moisture, even with the moisture filters. So we ended up having to switch over to the wire wheel, and we only used the sandblasting in the nooks and crannies where the wire wheel couldn't get into. And then finally, to protect the whole thing and prevent it from rusting, we put a coat of automotive paint. 2 coats, actually.
I just wanted to get it painted because I took off all the rust and I don't want to have to deal with it rusting again. That bracket's going to get moved from the other side. We are going to have to like strip that and put it on there, but that's okay because then we can repaint that area. I just don't want it to rust between now and when it goes into a shop because it's going to take about 2 weeks before I can get into a fab shop to make some custom plates. Once that dries, we're going to try to adapt the driver's side plates, and then we just got to worry about the other side because I want to see how it's going to look in the truck. That'll let us know too how many changes have to happen to the other plate. So, oh, the other thing too, see how that side has a nut? We're gonna have to add a nut on this side for that piece. Did you put it on the wrong side?
Well, what's up? Doesn't go in tight.
Doesn't go in tight.
There is a bolt you have to put here, but since we don't have a welded nut, the only thing we can do is just kind of put it in place while we get another bolt.
Yeah, this thing doesn't like to be tight.
That right there proves that part can go together. There we go. That was easy. Let's see, man. So you have to release it. I wasn't releasing it.
Nice.
Alright, so you guys look. The only thing then that we have to get welded on is one of these has to be put on this side. I'm thinking we're going to leave that one there. I'm going to cut the other one off the other one. And then there's a little standoff plate right there for the handle when it was facing this way.
The handle's gonna be facing the other way. These holes allow it to be in any direction, so we're gonna put it this way. So that means that we have to put one of these here so that cable doesn't catch. And that's it. That's all we gotta do for welding. And, oh, I'm sorry. We also have to figure out a plate for this because the bolts aren't gonna line up, right? This is designed to go under the other seat, and that's just not the way it's gonna go. It's probably gonna end up going back the other way, and then we have to put another mounting point at the front. So this is the one thing that's gonna have to be customized for it to work. These are directional. They'll actually have a little left or right logo on there. I see like this has an L, that's left. All right, and these positions change. On the left-hand side, they're like this. On the right-hand side, they're here and here. So they do change. You do have to get this from the donor bench. But it's super easy install because you just kind of put it in, slides in. I'm surprised how much we're able to reuse. It's kind of nice. Perfect. All right, let's go get them in. Try out the movement, make sure it moves correctly. All right, is it hooked up in the back?
No.
Align it with that little mark, and then let's make sure it's hooked up. There it is. Okay, now do the thing. And it doesn't touch. Woohoo! That's a big win. Let's get the other one in. Okay, this is like kind of moment of truth. We know that that side's not going to line up. Ooh, wait a minute.
Move the seat up. Oh, fuck.
Wait, did it line up? It did line up. No way. No freaking way. That means that we just got to worry about this. That makes fab so much easier because then we just got to make a plate that holds this side. Holy shit. All right, let's get it secured. Woohoo, that was cool. That's so cool that we can reuse the bracket. That makes things so much easier, Ethan. You have no idea, buddy. And if we get that up, and look at that, it clears the amp. It clears the amp. That's a big deal. Sorry, guys, that's a big deal. Now, see how it's touching on that, but we're gonna be taking off that whole seatbelt because we don't need it anymore. All right, guys, this is awesome. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to hold on to, so that's why it doesn't work. So we have to do that. All right, give it a test, Ethan. Just be careful for that.
Really?
Careful for your balls. How's it feel?
Uncomfortable. It's like something's digging into my back.
As long as it's not digging into your balls. All right, it's gonna work. It's gonna fucking work.
Can I go inside now?
Listen here, little asshole. And in my house, you gonna help.
Can I go inside?
This is, I'm like really giddy right now. This is so cool that it's gonna work, and it's not gonna require too much crazy fab work. This is just cool. I think I may even have space to put couples in there for the boys. Is that heavy?
No, not even a little bit. You know what we can do, right?
You know, we could put armrests off of the speaker box.
Do you know what we can do, right?
Hmm?
Flip this so this gets hidden.
Well, we got options for that. I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, because that can go in a little cubby right there.
Yeah, but the port is up top, and I need that port open. It can't be blocked. Sit down, Ethan. I want to see what it looks like. Sit down on the good seat.
A good seat. Oh, sweet. I can protect my balls this time.
How's it feel?
Uncomfortable.
Need a little work. It's a jump seat.
Yeah. And if I need something to hold on to, I can just...
And that'll be strapped down. We're going to do some plates to hold that in.
I can't wait for going down the freeway, and then you play on some like dubstep, and this thing go...
Well, it's going to shake the whole truck. It's going to be bolted to the truck. It's going to work. It's going to work. Now, at this point, guys, I was super excited. My vision was coming together. I was giddy. The passenger jump seat, the donor jump seat that we got could be reused on the driver's side. All the hardware was going into place. It bolted on the seat and it bolted onto the cab. We could even reuse the hole that was there for the seatbelt on the bench, lined up with the plates on the other side. We just needed to figure out that fourth bolt that was hanging in the opening, and we needed to cut 2 plates off of our bench seat in order to get it to secure correctly. The little standoff plate for the seat hinge cable, and the plates that allow the hook to connect to the back of the cab. I used a combination of cutting and prying here. The plates were fairly thin, so I wanted to preserve as much metal as possible to get them to come out. And we also had to clean them and remove all the rust and all the grime off of them as well. So I need to get this seat belt out. We're not going to use it anymore. It's a big Torx bit, and then we got to figure out how to take the top off too. Okay, so to take that off, there's a little cover. We got to take that off, and then there's 2 bolts underneath. See that? 2 Torx bits. It's out. This kind of sucks that it sticks out like that, though. Hopefully that doesn't become a problem. All right, let's get the seat welded.
Now, we originally set up an appointment with Richard at Grove Fabworks, but he was about 2 weeks out. So I got a little impatient, and we got a hold of Kevin at HM to see if he could fit a sit and weld those two little plates back together. Luckily, he had a little bit of time to weld those back in, so big thank you to Kevin for helping us out, and he was able to help us get plate at the bottom for the cable and the plate at the back for the seat welded into the new frame.
Alrighty. Even stronger than stock, dude. Look at that.
Now, the welding itself doesn't have to be perfect when you're getting this jump seat installed. There's quite a bit of tolerance on this plate and this hook setup when it goes to the back of the cab. I mean, if you look at this, this is a little bit over an inch wide, so you have about a ½ inch of tolerance in each direction. And because it slides up and down, you really could mess up the seat installation and it will still hook back into place because of the tolerances. Ford put a pretty large tolerance on this so that they could mass produce these, I guess, and make them easier to manufacture. It made getting these welded on super easy. He didn't need the truck. When you're installing the little tabs down here for the release cable, those do matter. And we actually got the orientation of that wrong. It's not a big deal if you do get it wrong. We just had to kind of cut the plate a little bit and then hold it down with zip ties, but it works once you do that. So make sure you pay attention to the direction. Next, it was time to get the seats upholstered. We took our new jump seat and our old bench seat over to Todd at Expert Auto Upholstery. We've used Todd a few times before on some projects. We found him because he does a lot of pre-runner interiors for F-150s, Raptors, and so on. So he has a ton of experience working on off-road trucks, and he's an off-road enthusiast himself. So highly recommend him if you're looking for an upholsterer. He's in Southern California. Now, the plan was to reuse as much of the material as possible that came with my seat because it had that two-tone interior. We wanted it to preserve the leathers, the foam, and all the hardware that came off of that seat so that it looked like a stock solution and it looked as nice as possible because our donor seats were junk.
We were able to use the same exact profile of it, and we shortened it in here instead of on the outside.
Cool.
So yeah, all the stuff was trash.
Or spares.
Spares, yeah. You can take it.
Yeah, I think I may end up keeping some of the hardware or the leather. At the very least, I want to keep the leather.
Yeah.
In case I mess it up, I can always use that as donor leather.
Yeah, no, we kept everything, and so that way, whatever you needed.
Cool. I love the way these seats came out, man. They look factory.
They are. Everything's factory on it.
Right?
Factory foam, factory leather. Get this stuff outside.
It's like, damn it, why doesn't Ford just do it like this?
So after weeks of planning, cutting, testing, we're finally ready to see what the solution was going to be. Now, mind you, I didn't have the plate in, but I wanted to see what it was going to look like. So we transferred all the good hardware from my seats to the new frame. And that was also to get it ready for Richard at Grove Fabworks for his fabrication and design work that he was going to have to do to help us design that seat support that was going to support the new seat as well as the subwoofer. So make sure that it was holding and strong and wasn't going to go flying off-road.
So we did run into a problem. See that little bracket right there? That bracket is for the seat release. That I didn't think I needed to remove it on this side, but I do because it actually obstructs the movement of this. I had to cut that off without messing up the upholstery. It's just gonna suck.
Now this was super difficult. I couldn't get a cutting wheel in there, so I had to try to pry that piece off and hope that if I bended it back and forth, it would break off. And it did, but unfortunately it broke off into 3 pieces. But using some pliers and some grips and all that stuff, I was able to get that piece to come off. If you guys do this on your truck, make sure that when you have that frame set up, cut that little standoff plate for the cable on the opposite side. You don't need it, and if you don't cut it off, it interferes with the seatbelt holder at the bottom, and it doesn't let the seat flip up and down correctly.
Just like that. We officially have dual jump seats on a Gen 1 Raptor. And once I get the plate made for the speaker, I'm gonna have my full floor available for storage.
To help us get the plate done, we've hired Richard at Grove Fabworks. Richard is a one-man shop, but he can do laser cutting in-house, so he can design and turn around a part much quicker than other shops. He can design it, laser cut it, bend it, and weld it all in one shop, and he can do it in less than a day. So he was a perfect option. He had the right experience and the right tools to help us out with this project.
That came out cool, dude. Oh, that's perfect on the brackets too. So I still do have to shim it, right? But like you said, once I put the brackets in the back, it'll be good, right?
Yeah, the brackets in the back will hold it up.
Dude, it came out cool. Came out clean. Dude, that came out so good. I'm debating now if I should powder coat that or not, you know?
It's pretty good round.
Right? That looks very cool. Thanks for taking care of that so quickly, man, too. And then this latches up and everything? Oh, yeah. Dude, I'm so glad I just had you do it. I got so frustrated with CAD. And that came out so much better than what I was thinking. Wow, dude. That came out real good.
Thank you.
So, Grove Fabworks, guys. He's out here in Murrieta, Temecula area. Highly recommend him, man. He does great work. He also helped me out with my second antenna mount. But the big one was that right there, guys.
Got my frame all welded up. Now my frame started cracking here because of the way the original frame was installed. Basically what happened is that's where the old shocks used to mount. And what the original installer did is he cut that off and grinded the welds. When he ground those down, he didn't follow through back with the weld himself. So the welds that were there were very weak. They were very thin. And over time, once we got this truck on some proper California trails, it started cracking. Now the cracks were so small that we couldn't see it. I would check that area fairly regularly when I checked my shocks and all that stuff. We couldn't see it. It wasn't still, we got all the extra rain here in Southern California that cracks started rusting out and we were able to see it and realize how bad it was. On the other side, it was slowly working its way all the way around that frame section. And because it wasn't welded right, it moved just enough and it was eventually going to tear apart. You actually found some extra cracks too, right?
Yep.
And the other side, the big side, this side was really messed up. Like right now, I just wanted it repaired, but eventually we're gonna have to do some plating there. Thanks, man. Came out really good, dude. Really, really happy with it. I love how you rounded it off.
Oh yeah.
So it takes the least amount of footprint and it's not gonna interfere. You know, I might even be able to make the speaker downfire and have it resonate through that.
Yeah.
If I decide to do a custom box. See, and I was thinking bigger on the brackets, but nah, dude, that's about the size you need, right? That's about what, an inch by an inch and a half on the brackets?
I
The
think
L
it's
brackets?
2 inches tall. Yeah.
2 inches by 1 inch. And then the slots will allow me to really squeeze it in. Fuck, man, that came out so good. Could I do this under the carpet or does it have to be above?
That's what I wanted, but I had to go on top of the bracket.
Okay, I see that.
And then I cut a piece of 1/2-inch plate to make a spacer to bring it up.
And that got you over that weird little hump.
It got
that was
me
right
over
there.
most of that. It's still conflicting with a little bit of the carpet, but it's solid.
Uh-huh.
And then mounting in the front, obviously conflicting with the carpet, but it's tight.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that because I already have the L track here anyways.
Yeah.
And the air track would clear all that.
That's
so
what I was trying to do, is tuck this up enough where you can fix that,
Yeah.
fit that track in there.
Yeah, and if I needed to, I would have gone lower too with it with the L track. There's a little bit of room there, not much, but there's enough. Damn, dude, that came out really good. I love the simplicity of it all.
Try to keep it simple but effective.
Yeah, and that's brilliant by going up top like that too.
Yeah, because really your only carpet interference is here.
Mm-hmm. And I could cut some of that carpet right there anyways, because I do need to cut a little bit off the back. But I am going to be redoing that plate. Got some ABS for the amp plate to kind of make that a little bit tighter.
The bolt that was here, I used here. So
Yep.
if you find that it's missing, that's where it's at.
Mhm.
I just
Oh, you even put a nut on it. Cool.
make sure you're solid. This side is slotted as well, so you can
Mhm.
fine tune your adjustment. I just kind of put it there because it's a bitch to get to.
Right now, what I figure is we're going to use this for now, but eventually I do want to make my own, something that's not so huge, and put some cup holders and stuff in it for the boys in the back. But it's coming along. And then those can just mount to the wall, right?
Yeah, I designed them to go to this guy,
Yeah, and then I can do rib nuts or jack nuts,
wherever it needs to.
and that'll work out really good because it's going to need all 4 brackets so it don't go flying off-road. Now, if you guys don't know Grove Fabworks, they're one of the few guys that started building jack mounts for the new Harbor Freight Badlands jacks that everybody's getting into. And he's got them all ready to go, powder coated. He has them raw for those that want to do their own colors. He's got covers for them. He's got anti-rattle straps, and he's got mounting plates too for all of you guys that want to mount it to your bed and don't have a rack or something like the rest of us. So make sure you guys check out his website, man. These things are really cool. He's one of the first ones to come out, and this thing is solid. Now that we had our plate all done up, I needed to get that speaker installed back there with as many bolts as possible. Remember, this is an off-road truck. That thing needs to be secured because it's heavy. Because the seatfloor is not flush, we did have to shim one side, and you guys can kind of see it there. It's just that bottom base is not level. There's a bunch of little humps and all that stuff in it, plus the carpet. It's not level, so we had to shim one side in order for it to sit there correctly and look right going behind the glass. To secure it to the wall, we used the combination of wood screws and jack nuts. Now, jack nuts we use to connect back to the back of the truck. Make sure when you guys are drilling in the back of the truck, you're drilling in one of the beams. There's beams, and then there's the outside skin of the cab. Drill into the beam so you're not drilling holes to the back of the cab to the elements. You don't want both sitting there to the elements. And then we use 3/4 inch wood screws to secure it from the plates to the speaker. I used 3/4 inch because I didn't want to drill extra holes in the subwoofer box that will affect the performance of the box. So we used 3/4 inch screws, and we used about 18 of them to hold that in place. And we did the Ethan test, and that thing ain't going anywhere. All right, since Ethan's not around, we gotta do the Ethan test without him. Holy shit, you're shaking the whole truck. God damn, that's going anywhere. That is though. Damn, that looked, that's pretty strong. I hope we lost the off-roading. We did have to shim it on this side
And it just has to do with how uneven this bottom floor plan is. It's just super uneven. But there's about, what, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 screws holding it into place. I like it. Let me see. Okay, now put your seat down. How does it look like?
I don't have an armrest.
And you need a cup holder too, right? And vents.
Don't feel right.
What does it feel like, Christian?
Feels like I'm fighting someone on an airplane for the middle, like from the armrest.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of gets in the way a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna work though. Now, overall, guys, I'm really happy with the way this project turned out. This has been by far one of the more fun projects we've done on Susia or any of my trucks. And it's mainly because nobody has done this before, right? Nobody's done this before. And I was really excited how easily everything worked out. And the folks that helped me out were super interested in it. They thought it was pretty cool. So it was one of the more fun projects. Now, I am fully aware this solution is not for everybody. Especially the big giant subwoofer. And eventually I will do a smaller box in there, maybe something with some armrests and some cup holders so the kids sit there a little bit more comfortably. But for now, I'm gonna take advantage of that giant subwoofer and the killer sound that comes from it in that specially engineered box. Big subwoofer needs a big box and it sounds amazing right now. Go check out that other video if you want to hear how it sounds. It sounds cool. But for now, I'm gonna enjoy having a super truck interior. I mean, she's supercharged, got a giant subwoofer sitting in the middle, supercar style, right? Show it out, show it out. Let's talk costs. The seats were donated to us, so there was no cost to us there. So big thank you to the gentleman that donated to us. I'll put his information here. Super cool dude. He works at a Lexus dealer, so if you guys are looking at a deal on Lexus, get a hold of him. Good dude. I've seen these sets on eBay and a bunch of different places go anywhere from $400 to a really ruined set all the way up to as high as $5,000. Usually it's hard to get just the rear bench seat. They usually come as a full set, all 4 seats. If you're looking to replicate something like this, you know, maybe try looking at a junkyard and getting just the jump seat, because the jump seat's all you really need. You don't really need anything else. Everything else you can get off of your own seats. Now, welding, you're looking for about 20 to 30 minutes of work, especially if you work ahead of time and do all the grinding and everything that's needed on there. So depending on the shop, it can be anywhere between $60 to $125 worth of labor there to get that welded up. Big thank you to Kevin at HM for helping us out with that. He didn't have to fit us in, and he fit us in and took care of us quick, and it's stronger than stock. So thank you, Kevin. Upholstery was also another big cost. We were able to reuse the stock foam and the stock leathers that came with the bench seat. The majority of the cost is going to be labor to take that apart and sew it up and make a new seat out of it. Todd at Expert Upholstery ended up charging about $650 for that work. It was all labor, and he knocked that other part. Big thank you there to Todd for getting that put together and understanding this, you know, weird little project of mine. Finally is the plate. Plate is going to be your biggest cost. Well, plate was our biggest cost because I originally tried to design a plate myself, but because I use CAD so infrequently, I basically had to relearn how to use the software again, and I got super frustrated. So we paid Richard at Grove Fabworks to design that for us and saved me some stress. Now, Richard also helped us with getting an antenna mount on the back of the truck, as well as all the welding of the frame to get that back in together, right? He actually had to clean that up. He had to drill it so that the crack would stop and got that all that weld that back together. So our cost there was about $1,150, with the plate design and build being accounting for at least half of that cost. If you wanted to do this, you guys can get a hold of Richard at Grove Fabworks and get the plate for yourself. He designed it and set it up already. So if you wanted to replicate my setup, he can just cut you a plate. It's going to be super cheap, probably just materials and labor to get it done. Make sure you get a hold of him if you want that done. If you need to have it customized a little bit for your setup, right? If you're going to be mounting something different, he can do that. It's just going to be a little bit more, but he can do that all in-house. So he can design, cut, bend, and weld all in the shop, and he does it very quick. So highly recommend you guys reach out to him if you want to do something similar. He has that plate design in his system already, and he can just cut it, bend it, and ship it to you wherever you want, anywhere in the US. Now, I'm very happy with this setup. If you don't like it and you don't understand it, that's your problem. If you're one of those guys that has to follow the crowd and do what everybody else does, that's okay. If you want it simple and do what everybody else does, that's fine. But to me, too many Raptors look alike. When I got this truck, it looked like every other Gen 1, and I wanted mine to stand out. Raptor guys tend to kind of copy each other, so all trucks, literally all the trucks look alike. All I can say is, you know, dare to be bold. Think outside the box and do something different. Take a risk sometime. This is exactly what I wanted, without compromise. I get high quality sound that sounds good at any level. I mainly listen to my music in low volume, so this sounds amazing at low volume.
without compromising storage. I carry a lot of gear back here because my bed is full. My bed is full of gear in the back. So my camera gear, my camping gear, my fridge, all that stuff sits in the back of the truck. With this, I don't lose any storage space. I get to keep my flat floor and I absolutely love it. And I hope this inspires you guys to do your own custom projects. Maybe use a center section there to hold the fridge. Maybe you guys do a console that goes from the front all the way to the back. So many options to do when you split the bench in the back and get that center space back. So again, I hope this video inspires you guys. I mean, if I could do it, you guys can definitely do it. Obviously, you're gonna need a little bit of help, but find a shop that understands what you're trying to do. Kevin at HM understood what I was trying to do and he was super eager to help. Richard at Grove Fabworks loved the idea, and it's the reason why we went to him. He really liked the idea. It's very different. It's something new to him. It was challenging. Find people like that to help you out. And again, don't be afraid to try something new. We've documented a lot of the hard part for you guys here, so you guys can try it for yourself and bring your projects to life. And with that, thanks a lot, guys, for watching. We'll see you guys again on the next one.